Join us today as we do a rebuttal video of lots of misinformation. I'll be kind and say that about GenCon. Welcome to the Geek Cabal channel. My name's Bob.
I'm Jim.
And today we're going to be talking a little bit about GenCon and a video that I stumbled across thanks to the Friends of GenCon Facebook group, which I'll try to link to down in the description, even though you can probably just look that up if you're curious. Sorry, fans of GenCon, not friends of GenCon. And this is a gentleman airing his grievances, and it's about 13 minutes of nonstop misinformation. Like, that's the kindest way I can put that. I'm not making any kind of personal estimation of the gentleman. Like, he's upset. And if you watch his video, like, it's a topic I've already covered about the housing situation. So I understand why he's upset. But, like, what he says is blatantly false. So I'm going to link to his video in the description. But it is, the video is just titled, The Problem with GenCon. And the channel is Knights, like a medieval knight, of Last Call. So I'm not going to play his video and talk about it here because, you know, we're just not going to do that. You should check the video out so you know what I'm saying, or at least read the transcript. I went through the video the second time watching and made myself a nice little list of all the claims that are just completely bogus. So, and he says a couple things that I do tentatively agree with, but that's not why we're here. That'll be at the end of the video, so stick around for that if you're really curious. So, in the first, 24 seconds of the video, he says the system is completely out of whack, imbalanced. I don't think it is, because he mentions that he knows that there's a lottery, and he's fine with there being a lottery, so I don't know what's imbalanced about it. But then, says it's the second time in 3 years he can't attend because they sell more badges than there are hotel rooms. Now, this is where everything just goes off the rails. They do sell more badges than there are hotel rooms. It's not Gen Con's responsibility to get you a hotel room. Like, if I go to a concert, the concert isn't obligated to supply me with a car to get there, with a hotel to stay in. The only thing they're supposed to do is, if I show up at the door with a ticket, they're going to let me in.
And there's always the option of hoteling outside of
Oh yeah. We're definitely going to get into that. But yes, to Jim's point, yeah, go ahead.
That there's the option of hotels outside, and heck, with Uber and Lyft services, yeah, it's going to be a little bit of money, but actually those hotels end up being cheaper, so the money spent is now. Again, not as convenient. I understand that, because it's nice to be able to go to your hotel room, put your stuff in the hotel room, go back, having that access, especially for people maybe cosplaying and stuff. That may be a...
Yeah, I mean, to Jim's point, and this guy, and not necessarily the point this guy's making, yes, it is not convenient, or as convenient, if you're not staying downtown. That is absolutely true. And I believe I addressed that in my video where I talk about this topic, which I'll also try to link to, because what spawned all this, in case you didn't see my other video, all of the hotels in the housing portal sold out. Like, that's basically never happened. And so a lot of people don't know what to do, because usually there's at least some hotels farther away in the housing portal, and people will buy those, and they'll wait for other hotels to drop out of the system and try to move up and things like that. Well, this is a unique situation, which I should also note might not bode well for how fast the badges sell out. Just a little note on that. So, to Jim's point, though, there are all kinds of hotels outside of the housing portal. The housing portal is not every hotel in Indianapolis. It's not even every hotel downtown. You're just going to be paying more money for them. Okay, like, convenience has a price. That's the way things work, which this gentleman also acknowledges in the video, when he acknowledges that supply and demand is a real thing and that capitalism is a thing. he is fine with these things and the lottery system. So I'm not 100% certain where it all breaks down for him, but anyway, he mentions that unless you want to pay $1,000 a night, you're not going. That's for these other hotels. That's blatantly false. Like, I know this was a few years ago, but Sarah and I got a hotel one time. We got it in Plainfield, which is an approximately 10 to 15-minute drive to downtown. We paid $50 a night. Now, I know prices have gone up. There's no way they've gone up 200 times. Like, that's not possible. So I don't have to look at hotels.com to know that's false. And even if you're getting a hotel, even a high-end hotel, I don't think is $1,000 a night. Like, I have no idea where this claim's even coming from. Let's see. The problem is that GenCon sells too many badges. Now, there's an entirely separate argument to be made that maybe they do. I don't agree with that, but I can see where one could make the argument. Because, as he does point out, and I do agree with, because he's been going since 2003, just like I have, since I moved to Indianapolis. It's definitely a different experience than it was 15 years ago, 10 years ago, the COVID year. Like, there were less people. You could move around easier. However, the problem is, I don't think all the problems he's talking about are still going to exist. Because with fewer people, there are going to be fewer exhibitors. There are going to be fewer events. GenCon's just going to get fewer hotel rooms in the hotel block. Like, everything else is going to scale down because there are fewer people spending money. So I think all the problems he's concerned about will still exist. Now, other things will be easier, like you'll be able to get around the dealer's hall easier. Unless it's only the people that have the strollers, in which case, it won't be. That'll be a total nightmare.
Yeah, well, one thing that still surprised me is that with the amount of attendance that they're getting, that there are still some big names that still won't come to Gen Con. That always just surprises the hell out of me.
Wizards of the Coast. Yeah.
But no, yeah. I mean, even the few years that I've been going, I've noticed obviously the increase in capacity, and then you go into Gen Con versus going to Indiana Comic Con. Getting a hotel right next to the convention center at Indiana Comic Con is not actually that hard to do. I mean, you can do it, but it's a lot smaller, and I don't know. This is the first time I'm seeing this list, so just kind of seeing that, what's good, with that. But I mean, kind of.
Yeah, I mean, most of his complaints are going to circle around this, just to be clear. Yeah. So let's see. They're selling badges to people that they know can't attend.
And those are the best ones to sell it to.
Well, yeah, from a business perspective, that's awesome. But like just that claim that they know can't attend. Now, first of all, they don't know that. Second of all, that's incumbent upon the person buying the badge. Like, I don't buy a ticket to San Diego Comic-Con, number one, because I'm not going to get it on the lottery, but number two, the price, but number three, I'm not going to San Diego. Like, that's not San Diego Comic-Con's fault. Nope. But I know, like, what he's really saying is back to the hotel thing, because his point is like, well, there's not enough hotel rooms, so they can't attend. And it's like, yes, they can. Like, I don't get a hotel room. I've gone for 20 years. I've gotten a hotel room twice. Once was because Sarah went, so we got a hotel room. The other was the COVID year, because a week before the show, there were still rooms downtown. And we were like, you know what? This is never going to happen again. Let's get a room downtown. But unfortunately, being the COVID year, not much was happening. So, but yeah, like, and people get RVs. People stay outside of the 465 loop. Theoretically, you could, if you're willing to drive a little bit, you can stay in Bloomington. There won't be a shortage of rooms there.
Well, and the only other thing that could possibly be is that people that buy the 4-day badge not planning on attending all 4 days or whatever, and that's probably true. But I mean, again, I don't think Gen Con's like. I mean, if they're selling badges, they're expecting the attendance. I mean, I don't get what kind of.
Yeah, it's nonsense, and like,
what do they want to do if the people buy a badge and they're like, well, I'm not going to attend. What do you want Gen Con to do about that?
I don't know.
Take that badge from you and give it to somebody else? Do you want them to?
Yeah, it's like I said, some of these claims, like it'd be one thing if I thought they were hyperbole, but I know that they're not, and because of the way they're stated, and yeah, and there's just like I said, there's just gonna be some more blatantly false information here before we're done. So again, it's not Gen Con's responsibility. Like one of the comments in his video are like, well, okay, the solution is Gen Con should just get out of the housing thing. You know, if you're going to complain like this, then just make it a free for all. Like then definitely just let capitalism sort it all out. And it's like that's what's going to come down to if people just you know anyway. So let's see. The badge is non-refundable. That's not true. The badge is refundable. Uh, Now I believe that it is system credit, and I'm going to come back to that, but it is refundable. Okay, hang on just 1 second here. We'll do this here live. Let's see. You can request to refund your badge when badge registration opens. That doesn't sound right. February 11th, badge registration is already open. Okay. Okay. There's a deadline, and he does mention this in his later screed, but there is a deadline of June 14th. If you initiate the process by then, you will get a refund. There's a $10 fee they take out, but you will get a refund charged back to your card. After that point, it becomes system credit if you try to get a refund. But either way, the badge is refundable. It is blatantly false saying the badge cannot be refunded. So, and I know again, later on he goes go into the fact that okay, yeah, I guess it can, but there's a restocking fee or whatever, and it's like, well, then what you said previously is just a lie. Like, they'd be like, oh, the sky's not blue, and later on, well, it is blue when there's no clouds. Like, well, then I was wrong the first time. I'm sorry. Let's see. The badge is $150, $160. This claim will repeat as the price will keep escalating whenever he keeps making this claim. A 4-day badge is $143. There's taxes involved, but it's $143.
There's also if you have it shipped to you. I mean, there is shipping fees.
Yeah, there's a shipping fee if you have it shipped to you, which for those of you who watch my channel, you'll know I recommend that you do that. You should. It'll save you time waiting in line. Unless you're overseas, and I don't know the intricacies of international mail so well, so there you might want to hold off. It might be worth your time to get it here versus never getting it. So yeah, let's see. You have to buy a badge in the hopes of getting a chance to go. This is in reference to the hotel situation. Now, if I'm going to be generous, what he's saying is you have to buy a badge to get into the hotel lottery, which is true. But again, you don't have to get a hotel through the lottery to be able to attend GenCon, so the statement is false. Like, you just need a badge to get in the door, ultimately. If you want to get into the hotel lottery, yes, but you don't have to get a hotel from the lottery to be able to attend. That's the crux of the argument here. Let's see. GenCon knows that there aren't enough hotel rooms to accommodate 70, 80, 90,000 people. 90,000 people have never gone to GenCon. Like, the cap is somewhere around 75,000, if I remember correctly. There is a cap. What he wants is in place. It's just not as low as he wants. They have sold out at least twice to my knowledge. Once was actually well before the show, but there was plenty of lead up where they said, hey, look, if things keep on pace, in like a month, we're going to be out of badges. In like 2 weeks, we're going to be out of badges. Like, there's plenty of warning. But no, 80, 90,000, if I recall the numbers correctly, like, no. That's whenever you use the interesting accounting that they use, not the actual turnstile attendance. So, yeah. Let's see. Then there's hotels, and that's, let's see, that's counting hotels all the way out to the airport. Yeah, there's hotels out at the airport. You go to the hotels at the airport that are in Plainfield, you hop on I-70, and 15 minutes later, you're downtown. Like, yeah, it's a little inconvenient. I'm not going to lie, it is. But saying you can't go because you can't drive 15 minutes, that's just drama. I mean, Obviously, you can. I've done it. Like, it is within the realm of physical possibility. You're saying something.
Oh no. I was just that. We again. Yeah, it's nice. To, like I said again, nice to have a hotel nearby. But I mean, every time I've stayed with my kids, I mean, most people are not going to be like that much about. Oh, I have to be right there. It's like, well, no. I'm within, a short driving distance. Hell, even if you had to, like take a car over there, like you rent a car or whatever, you still have your trunk that you can put all your stuff into. If you need to, like I don't want to carry all this stuff all day. You still have your car there to put the stuff into and all of that. Yes, I mean, don't get me wrong. It would be so convenient just to be able to walk through the parking garage, get to your hotel, put the stuff in there, rest, eat, do all of that. Because in many of our other videos where we talk about, taking plenty of breaks and stuff like that, yes, it's convenient to have the hotel right there for the breaks.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, if his argument was it's inconvenient, I'd be totally on board with what he's saying. Because it is inconvenient. And to Jim's point, like I've said in other videos, I treat my car as like a home base. Like, it's in the parking garage. It takes me about 10 minutes to walk to it. I can go there. I can sit down. I can crank up the air conditioner if I feel like it. I drop off all my crap so I don't have to keep carrying it all day. And then I go back to the show. Like, yeah. So I don't know. Let's see. Then we got. They'll sell you a badge even though there is no way for you to attend. No way.
What are they going to do? You walk in, you're like, no, you can't attend. Why not?
Exactly. He's basically saying if you don't get a hotel in the housing portal, it's impossible. It's a law of physics. Impossible. You cannot attend. And it's like, no. I did an entire video a week ago on this topic telling you where else you can stay. Like, there are plenty of other places. You just have to drive a little bit. You already came halfway across the country in all likelihood. A little bit of a drive isn't going to kill you. Like, and if you find a hotel cheap enough, like Jim was saying, take an Uber. Like, yeah, it's going to increase your cost, but like the money savings versus downtown, I think you're going to come out ahead. Now, you might have some convenience issues getting an Uber. I don't know. I don't use the service, but like, or I mean, this is a total long shot, and I don't want to actually endorse this idea a whole lot because it's going to sound like I'm making it sound easy. It's not. Get to know some people locally, like get to be friends with them to the point that they're like, don't care if they sleep in your house, or reverse that. Do you know what I mean? That's what I do. I have a friend that lives there. So let's see. Let's see. Then he talks about events costing a few dollars. Then mentions how that is after paying for your flight, hotel, badge, etc. This is like some other complaint entirely, where he's basically arguing that I think the event should be free, is what he's saying.
Well, he's saying that everything inside the hall, everything should be like all activities within the event should be free. That'd be like, I don't know. I mean, going to any sort of concert, and you're like, well, I paid for the ticket. You at least give me the T-shirt.
Yeah, I paid for the ticket. I drove here. I took a flight to the airport, and I had to rent the car, and I've spent all this money, man. Like, can I get the T-shirt? Like that's nice if that were the situation, but it's not. Like I can be sympathetic to what he's saying, but reality says something else. And he's also wrong in like a couple different directions here on some other things, like just factually wrong. Number one, a lot of events are free. Like, you need a ticket, but it's free. You just have to make sure you get the ticket.
Yeah, because I mean, a lot of like when me and my kids do, we just roam the vendor hall. It doesn't cost anything to do that. I mean, obviously, it costs if you buy stuff in the vendor hall, but we can do that. You can, there are certain events, certain games, and certain things where you can go in and play test. You can do certain things.
Right. Even in the dealer hall, like most of the games have demos set up. You can play the games, for free. Yeah. But also on the other end, there's also tickets that cost like $100. Looking at you, True Dungeon. Yeah. So, and that sells out. So that tells you where the people stand on this issue. They don't care. Like, that sells out like day one. So yeah, that one's just that's the I don't know. That one just kind of sounds like entitlement to me. But if you don't sign up, the second events go live, you aren't getting in. This is also false. That depends entirely on the event. True Dungeon, if you don't get it day one, your odds drop precipitously. Other events, I mean, like the costume contest holds 600 people last time I checked. Those tickets last a little while. Usually it takes a few days for those to sell out. Other events do not sell out. Like there are things that do sell out. Some of the D&D stuff and other things, whatever the new hotness is, that'll sell out. But there's like the event catalog or the catalog for Gen Con, the physical catalog, half of it is the event section, if not more. We're talking like it's got to be 30 pages at least, packed with script this tiny for each little event, page after page. Like, I mean, if you're going for one event, first of all, I'd argue maybe you should have spent your money a different way. I mean, I don't want to tell anyone don't go, but like, if you're only going to do like to play D&D and you don't get in, maybe you should get a refund, or consider Pathfinder or any of the other RPGs. Like, to me, again, I'm not trying to say people shouldn't go, but like, if you're going for one event, maybe you should look at the other events. Like, that's just me. Like, like last year, I think I only signed up for 2 or 3 events and didn't go to one. Like, I still found plenty to do. Most years, I don't sign up for any events. Like, that was like a foreign concept till me and Chris have been going for like 7 years. So, yeah, I mean, there's plenty other to do. But, again, to his point, it's also not true on the events. Because, like I said, they don't all sell out instantly. That's also not all the events. They keep adding events up until the show. Like, there's other stuff to do. Now, again, if you're hell bent on the one thing, like, I don't know, like I said, I'd question my priorities maybe, but like if you don't get in, then yeah, I mean that's a risk. Especially if it's something like there's one instance of it and it's got like 12 people can get in. I mean, 70,000 people. Like odds are you're not going to be one of the 12. Like I don't care how you do it, you're probably not going to be. Like even if it's a lottery system or something, like the odds of you being that guy or gal or what have you are exceedingly low. I mean, they're better than the actual lottery, but not by much.
Sounds like the Hunger Games. May the luck forever be in your
favor. Yeah. May the odds be ever in your favor. But yeah, so, I mean, I get it. And again, this comes back to the other problem, though. Fewer people equals fewer events, fewer copies of events, less chance of you getting in.
I mean, what are you going to do? I mean, it just have that event on repeat indefinitely for the
I mean, the only thing that does that is True Dungeon. True Dungeon, literally from the opening to like about like I think it's 1:00 on Sunday because they got to tear down everything. Like they just run the same events. They're in cycles. Like they start like 6-7 minutes apart and just go. That's the only thing that does that there. Yeah. Like like even the D&D stuff. Like they have to find people to run the games. Or like HeroClix stuff. You've got to find people to run the games. BattleTech, people have to run the games.
Well, that was like, well, heck, even when they found somebody to run the game, when I went to play the Oregon Trail card game, the person didn't even show up until like 10 minutes after the fact. Like the stuff was all there, so we just sat down, read the rules, and started playing. And that was a very interesting take because she came to run the game with her boyfriend who shouldn't have been there because he was not running the game. She had a black eye, which she said she got from LARPing.
Well, I never know.
I don't know. It was just a very interesting experience, and it was my first like game thing that I signed up for ever at GenCon. So
yeah, then we've got if you don't sign up. No, I already said that. Don't get events, so you now have a non-refundable badge, non-refundable hotel. It's just too big. So the event tickets go live in May. The refund cutoff is in June for actual cash refund. And for system credit is up until the start of the convention. So, no, your badge is still refundable. Your hotel reservation is probably still refundable because most of these hotels, you might be out $50. But I believe this should be before the cutoff of having to pay for the first night. But even there, you're still not going to pay for everything. I mean, it's crappy that you have to pay for the first night. But again, I come back to, if you're already this into it, maybe look at the other events. Maybe don't just throw everything out. Maybe see if someone else wants your hotel room and everything and sell it to them. There's options. Let's see. There's one Paizo booth, and he kind of went through several others. He's like, whenever I went in 2010, there was one Paizo booth. You know how many there are this year? There's one Paizo booth. And it's just like, I don't know how many you expect there to be, because there's still just one Paizo company that has a set number of employees and volunteers. Chessex is like the only company that has multiple booths because everyone wants dice. And they're like kind of small and can be run by like 3 people. Like, Paizo's not just going to put a second booth in there just because there's more people. That's asinine. Like, it's just not going to happen. They might make a slightly bigger booth, and you might have to wait in a line. But there's 70,000 people, so you might have to wait in a line. Like, I'm sorry. Like, I don't know why anyone thinks there's going to be multiple copies of the same booth. Like, it's absurd.
Because, well, one, I'm sure it's probably not cheap to have to get floor space.
Well, that's the other thing. Like, if you're Paizo, like, now you're expected to buy a second booth. Like, if your sales haven't doubled, which I'd be willing to bet they have not, while your costs have been increasing all across the board, and now you're expected to double your cost here, double the number of people you need, which is more hotel rooms, which, by the way, is less for you, guy. Like, it's a nonsense solution, like, to a non-problem. So, let's see. The convention center is the same size. That is brazenly false. The convention center almost doubled in size since 2003. Like, they had a major renovation where they added on like a whole like second basically convention center to the building. And the dealer's hall is now in a much larger hall than it was previously. And that's the main thing as far as the size factor. There are more rooms that there are events in. Events are now also over in like Lucas Oil Stadium and all that, but that's kind of separate from the convention center being bigger. But the convention center is factually almost twice as large.
Well, but to that point, though, I mean, if you're talking about not having enough room for all this stuff, I mean, the fact that they have it over in the Lucas Oil Stadium, I mean, you're adding space there, and then, I mean, like I said, like some of the other rooms, some of the other floors, some of the other space.
Yeah, there's the connected hotels they put events into. Now this is a little in the future, so it doesn't really factor into his complaint here, but they have begun construction on the hotel that's going to be there at the Pan Am Plaza. Apparently right now, if we were to go there, there's a 3-story deep crater there right now. So presumably that also means more parking, because I think that's the only reason you'd build underground there. Okay, so let's see. Then he makes a sketchy Disney analogy involving buying tickets before getting a hotel and not sure you can ride the rides, when there is no guarantee on being able to ride the rides if you go to Disney World. Like, when you buy the tickets, you're not guaranteed to be able to ride the rides. If the lines are too long, you don't want to wait. Like, you can't. Like, Disney World will sell thousands of tickets to people that can't go. They don't care. Like, you watch Disney stuff, like, they only care about money. But yeah. And also, I don't know why you would buy your ticket to Disney World without also getting the hotel room at the same time. Like, I mean, I get what you're trying to say with the analogy of you're buying the ticket to GenCon and not having a hotel. I get that. But
well, at the same time, though, like
but you can do that if you want to. You just get a hotel room. You just don't get it through the housing thing.
But with Disney, if you go with certain packages, you can get your fast passes and all that stuff set up ahead of time before you even go. So, I mean,
yeah, like I said,
bad analogy.
I get where he's going with it. I just don't think it's a great analogy. Let's see. Everybody gets to go to GenCon, but not really. And that's his whole, like, they sell too many tickets thing. Because what he's saying is, yeah, they'll sell you a ticket, but you can't go. But again, I just completely disagree with that premise. Like,
they're not selling tickets knowing you can't go. And even if they did,
it's still your fault for buying it.
Yeah, that'd be like me going out, like you said, the San Diego Comic-Con. Like, why would I buy a ticket for that? Because I'm never going to go. It's just so that I can say, haha, that person didn't get to go because I bought the ticket.
Yeah.
I guess they could scalp it.
Yeah. Maybe. Which depends on which state you're in. like some states have laws against scalping, and like as far as I'm aware, Indiana does not. But I don't know if that applies to an event that's not in Indiana. So I don't know.
I'm not going to be doing it anyways.
Oh, I know. I'm just saying that there's some things you want to consider. Maybe I don't know. Just rambling. Let's see. $175 for a badge was the claim now, and as I said earlier, it's 143.
Like I said, he may be tacking on the shipping and taxes and whatever that may go with it, but it's not even that much because I think even well, again, if it's a 4-day badge and for some reason he's got it expedited and insured, and I don't know, I don't know what all you can do. Maybe you could get up to that total, but
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's literally just $10, and then I think they even tell you like good luck on tracking. So yeah, I'm not. By the way, not advocating that's like the greatest system ever. Like, and to be clear, I don't think there aren't problems with GenCon. I just don't agree with this guy's problems.
I like this next one.
Oh yeah, yeah. Over the last 3 years, he's bought a badge. Now he's counting this year, by the way. He's already saying that he's not going to go. When in the video he waffles back and forth. So this claim is bogus on its face. For the last 3 Gen Cons, he's bought a badge. He only went once, which was last year. And he's like, so they've got me for 3 badges. Well, not if he got a refund on the first one they didn't. And if he didn't, that's his fault. Like, there is a refund policy. Even if it's system credit, that would have mostly paid or entirely paid for the badge last year. So they've only gotten him for 2 badges unless he's been dumb about it. And this year's convention still hasn't occurred yet, so he hasn't not gone yet. Like, this is just a actually bogus claim. Or he's not with it and didn't get a refund. He proposed limiting the badges sold, which they already do, but he proposes at 50,000 and to use a lottery system. Now, personally, I don't think a lottery system would be necessary because, like I said, I believe the cap is around 75,000, and it doesn't ever hit that. In like the one year it hit it well beforehand, it hit it like June or July. So there's no reason to have a lottery system. Just do it as it is now. First come, first serve. Now, if it gets to a point where it sells out in January, then yeah, a lottery system, I guess, is how you'd have to do it, which even that is terrible. But, since he's complaining about missing out on all these things, I think it's a little disingenuous when he then went on to say, if I don't leave the lottery, then, whatever. Like, I seriously don't think he's actually going to take it that way. I wouldn't, because I think a lottery's dumb. Let's see, don't sell badges if there's no place to stay.
Well, first of all, how do they know that you need to stay somewhere? What happens if you? I mean, what happens for the people that live in Indianapolis or the surrounding area?
Or what happens for people like me who are staying with someone? Like, I don't need to stay. In fact, by this guy's logic, I should get the badge cheaper or something. Like, because I'm not going to be taking up space in a hotel room somewhere. But anyway, that's not going to happen. But the counter to this is the Indianapolis 500 has 300,000 people come to Indianapolis, and they seem to manage. I think they can manage the 75,000 for Gen Con. Just saying.
They'll supposedly, with the solar eclipse coming up, they expect Indiana to be in gridlock.
Oh, probably. I saw a thing. Do you have any idea how many schools are going to be out that day?
No.
Like I said, Lagoda's going to be in Washington and Jasper. Like, there's a huge list. It's on Facebook. Yeah. People they've already said no, we're canceling school.
Yeah. Well,
probably a worthy reason too, because I think the next one of these is going to be in 50 or 60 years. So,
and I know, from voices in law enforcement that it's a huge deal, and they're already talking about how they're going to manage all the law enforcement, people in law enforcement. There's no day off.
Oh yeah, no, I would think that already every bed and breakfast and Airbnb and hotel and everything like I've seen at Walmart there are shirts for the day and not just one. I'm talking 8 or 9 different designs.
Yeah,
this is a big deal. We should do a whole video. We need to record that for sure. Well, with as many cameras as we can, pointing as many things as we can.
Yeah, that's what I say. Because actually, the center of the solar eclipse is actually going to be going just down the road, 40 miles from us in Vincennes.
Yeah,
it's supposed to be dead center.
Yeah.
So we actually have, I think, where we're at, over 3 minutes of total eclipse.
Yeah.
Which
I remember the last one a few years ago, and
yeah. but that
wasn't total. But yeah.
Now, Maybe in a total eclipse is his logic.
Yeah, yeah,
But no, it's a. But what we're trying to get on that is that the capacity is there that people can find the way. It's just
yeah.
it's all boils down to inconvenience.
It might not be as convenient, might not be as cheap, but it's not incumbent upon Gen Con to make sure you have a room. Because if that were the case, even 50,000 would be too high. It's not like there's 50,000 rooms in the thing, and you have no idea. Like,
Are they staying
are they
together?
single? Is it a family of four? Is it a group of 8 people that they don't care if they sleep on the floor? They just want to be downtown. Like, you can't know that number.
What do they? What's they want to do?
It is what is known as a known unknown.
So they went on there. Do you have a place to stay? No. Well, we won't sell you the bag.
Yeah, yeah, and of course, no one will lie about that either.
Well, I mean, we're talking about getting an RV and just parking.
Yeah, you can park an
Sleep.
RV at Gate 10 parking. You can park a van at Gate 10 parking. They don't care.
Yeah, sleep in your vehicle. I mean, how are you supposed to know?
And I know for a fact people do that. I mean, I know for a fact people just sleep in the convention center. Like, they do. Because I've seen people sleep in there, no one bothers them, and they just trust that nothing's going to happen while they're asleep. And the convention center is open 24/7 from the start to 4 o'clock on Sunday. So,
I'm not saying that's the right thing to
yeah,
do, but
I'm not advocating that. Like, I would not do that. I would not recommend you do that. Like, if that's your course of action, like, I would see if like a church will let you sleep there before I'd ever consider doing that. But you know, yeah. So he's a 20-year veteran of doing this, but doesn't seem to understand how several things work. So I mean, I'm going to take him at his word on the 20-year part, but this doesn't seem to add up. Maybe he's just not been paying attention to things. I don't know.
well, the big one I get. I mean, I get the limiting. It would be nice if things were smaller. I mean, the smaller conventions are nicer, but at the same time, they're not going to grow. They're not going to get bigger. And I mean, when companies look at, like Wizards of the Coast should do, when they look at, oh, they're selling 75,000, or up to 75,000, maybe we need to be there. Maybe that should be a place that we go.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe the convention started by Gary Gygax, nominally to promote Dungeons and Dragons, should be attended by the company that makes Dungeons and Dragons. Just throwing that out there. But yeah, so yeah, now there's some things, like I said, that he might be right on, or that I tentatively agree. The housing block has sold out. I mean, that did happen. That is unusual. That does, to me, point to maybe Gen Con. I don't know. I don't know how exactly they go about procuring rooms, because they're basically asking hotels to willingly sell rooms at a lower rate in a weekend that they know they can jack the prices up. I don't know how that negotiation goes. I don't know the ins and outs of that, but maybe Gen Con needs to be adding more rooms to it if they're not already. I don't know that they're not already. But there is going to be another hotel downtown with an additional 800 rooms right across the street from the convention center. It's right there on Georgia Street. It's under construction right now. It'll probably be 3 years before it's built, I assume. And once it starts hitting capacity normally, they're going to build another hotel right behind it. Like, that's the other part of the plan. Plus, the Circle Center Mall, if everything goes through, is going to be radically altered here in the near future. It sounds like it might not be a mall anymore. Like, the company from, I think, Michigan is wanting to buy it, and they're wanting to turn part of it into housing, as near as I can tell. The end towards the convention center, the end towards the government building. It looks like from the artist sketch, they're actually going to take out the middle of the building and put a park in there and make that all housing up through there. So, which, I mean, that doesn't help in directly because those are apartments, but those people are going to be like, hey, I've got this nice apartment. I'm not going to be here this weekend. Hello, Airbnb, put my apartment up. So
Yeah.
that will also potentially help. It'll lessen traffic a little bit. Not that there's a ton of traffic for shopping at the mall at the moment, because we're dying, to be blunt. But yeah, there used to be fewer attendees. Yes, that is absolutely true. And maybe there's a balance point. I just don't think it's at 50,000 people. Maybe it's at 65 to 70. Like, if the current cutoff is 75, maybe you can dial it back a bit before those other hotels are built. But I think the convention's going to suffer. Because I think there will be people who be like, well, at 75,000, I did okay there, but at 70,000, I think I'm not going to make as much to go as far as sellers and whatnot. So maybe, I don't know. And then there's less that you can do because there's so many people doing things. Yeah, I see the logic behind it. It's that the number of events probably isn't increasing at the same rate as the attendance. So events do fill up faster. So because there are so many people, there might be a little bit less per person to do. But at the same time, the event catalog's got all kinds of crap in it. Like it might not be the thing you wanted to do primarily, but like there are other things.
Yeah.
So that one, I mean, I get what he's saying. He's kind of right, you know. But yeah, so that's and a lot of what he has brought up. Now we're going to just general Gen Con stuff. He didn't say this, just to be clear. I want to be above board about who I'm trying to correct and just general stuff here. So we're done with him. He can go on his merry way. We'll probably see him at Gen Con. Yeah, he'll probably join the channel now and try to meet up and yeah, that'll probably happen. That'll be great.
That'll be fun.
We'll film it. We'll both put it on our channels. So, and to be clear, his channel's a bigger channel. I'm not doing this for clout chasing. That's why I don't do these videos. Because there have been other videos where I have mentioned other YouTubers, but I don't say who they are. I don't talk about their videos. But this was just so brazen and blatant, and it's a topic that we cover that people ask me questions in the comments. We had a guy come from Boston, as near as I can tell, based purely on the strength of our videos. Like, people clearly actually are looking for good information on this. And so this is just bad information. That's why it has to be combated. So the other part, though, just real quickly here, all of this is usually used as a pretext for the convention needs to be moved to another city. Every year, for at least the last 10 years that I've seen on various forums and Facebook groups, which, by the way, you folks should sign up for the Fans of GenCon Facebook group. Good information. People stay on top of it. Some people from GenCon actually do post there. And like I said, I'll try to put a link down the bottom in case you can't search for that. So there's always every year, without fail, the day GenCon ends or the next day. So when are we moving out of this podunk city? Like, someone actually called it a podunk city the other day. And I'm pretty sure it's one of the top 10 largest cities in the country. Obviously, it's nowhere near New York or Chicago or LA. Like, those are like megatropolis, like cyberpunk, bad deal kind of things. But yeah, so
I guess if they can move to Detroit, there'd be plenty of housing there.
yeah. I think someone has actually recommended Detroit before. So without fail, almost in this order, it's either Chicago or Las Vegas gets mentioned first. Then the other one. Louisville gets mentioned, Atlanta, New York. Occasionally someone is like Seattle. They're like, well, all the companies are there, because most of them are. And then like Philadelphia. Okay? So, since I've seen this argument play out several times, I'll just briefly explain the problems with all of those. Now, for those of you who are unaware, 2/3 of the population of the United States lives east of the Mississippi River. If you ever look at one of those pictures that shows the U.S. lit up at night, you'll notice that once you go west of the Mississippi River, it's a black hole except for Texas, Las Vegas, and parts of the West Coast. Nothing west of the Mississippi River will work because everyone will have to fly there. That increases expense dramatically. Indianapolis is within a 16-hour drive of 2/3 of the population of the United States. That has a hell of an impact on attendance. Okay? That's the thing. They tried Gen Con West Coast. It didn't work. So Las Vegas is out for that. So is Seattle. Las Vegas in particular is not family friendly. Las Vegas, the convention center, is way the hell away from everything else. I've been to it. It's sufficiently sized, but it's way the hell away from everything else. The only thing next to it is the Las Vegas Hilton, which, to its credit, does have a bunch of awesome Star Trek stuff in there. So, maybe. And they would probably allow alcohol inside. I'll let you decide whether that's a bonus or a negative. I went to a convention there that there were cocktail waitresses walking around selling alcohol. This is for construction stuff. And yeah, so the city itself is not family friendly at all. At night, there will be people who can't speak English, mostly from my last experience, who are handing out flyers for prostitutes to everyone that walks by.
Yep.
On every corner. Like, that is Las Vegas at night, folks. Plus, you're asking a whole bunch of people who really like games of chance to go to a city built on gambling. I don't think they're going to be spending much money at the dealer's hall because they're going to lose it to the slot machines and the card tables and everything else. That's just a personal opinion, but you know, when the restaurants have slot machines in them, you can't avoid them. Like convenience stores have them, the airport has them. You know, like you can't avoid them. So, and again, people with uh, penchants for gaming, who, given what they buy, probably also have addictive personalities. It's just a bad idea. And let's not ignore August in Las Vegas is hotter than hell. That's not hyperbole. Like, I've been there before in, I want to say June, where coming into the city at 5 in the afternoon, it was 120 degrees. Like, I know it's a dry heat, and it is. That is a real thing. That doesn't matter. It's 120 degrees. Like,
And let's just say that you're gonna have a convention somewhere where it's that hot, and people that are not always of
yes, the average person is, they're packing a few extra pounds. Like, let's be real here about the average GenCon attendee. And they haven't seen the sun in a while. And that's also a thing in Las Vegas. So, yeah, that's just a bad idea all the way around. Seattle is mainly the distance because it's like at the northwestern corner of the United States.
So,
like it's the farthest point from Florida you can be.
Yeah, you're saying
except for Alaska.
You're saying that most people will have to, like you said, fly in because versus, like you said, in Indianapolis being like you said 16 hours away. But the other thing is that like say for example like Philadelphia versus Indianapolis, I can tell you right now is the cost of one over the other one is going to be way cheaper in Indianapolis than it's going to be in Philadelphia.
Yeah, that is a factor for most of these others. Chicago, the big problem is cost. From everything I see, you may as well plan on spending about 3 times as much money. Now, for some people, that's nothing. You know, and maybe there's enough attendees that could still make that work. But that's not just the attendees. That's the people putting things on. Because for better or worse, as I understand it, if you want to plug something into an electrical outlet, you have to get a union worker to do it for you. And I'm not like smashing union workers here or anything, but like they're not cheap. Like, and that's to plug something into an electrical outlet. I've been to the convention center in Chicago. There's no hotels by it. Like, you have to drive to it. Now, it does have a massive attached car garage. It is big enough to hold the convention. Like, whenever I went there, I was looking around. I was like, yeah, GenCon could easily fit here. It even has a connection to the L train. It's the elevated train, but it's got some name. Other than that, I know in Chicago, I don't know what the name is. Now, we were able to stay fairly close by. Stayed in Chinatown. It's a pretty nice hotel. Got Chinese food like midnight. Pretty good Chinese food, too. Probably more authentic. Probably. But yeah, and it only took us about 10 minutes to drive there, but there wasn't hardly any traffic. Like, we got really lucky. In fact, we knew there was going to be traffic leaving, so we waited to the last minute to leave to drive back to Indianapolis. And then we got stuck with a storm and a bunch of other crap. But so Chicago, it's mainly cost because distance is about the same. But it's mainly cost in Chicago, and not just to attendees, but to the distributors and everyone else too. Louisville, the problem there, and this one, again, if I'm remembering correctly from the convention center, there's nothing by the convention center.
It's just kind of out in the middle of nowhere.
There's like a giant, it actually has a parking lot because there's nothing next to it. So it's big enough, but I know that one of the other reasons people bring up occasionally is the fact that Indiana is a red-leaning state and does have certain political persuasions and certain things we've passed, to which everyone kind of points out, like, do you think Kentucky is any better on that front? Have you been to Kentucky? Like, don't be fooled by the fact they have a Democrat governor. Like, everyone else in the state is basically a Republican. So, plus, Indianapolis is not a Republican-leaning city. It's very much a Democrat-leaning city. So, make of all that what you will, but that's a thing. Cost would probably actually be similar in Louisville, if I had to guess, except again, the hotels aren't by there. And distance is about the same.
Well, and I think that the big thing about Indianapolis is there's a reason why it's the crossroads of America is because of the amount of interstates
Yeah,
that crisscross into it.
You've got all that.
I mean, I think like what Interstate 69 eventually is going to go all the way down to Texas.
Well, 69 will eventually connect Canada and Mexico. So, yeah, at least that's what its purpose is anyway. But yeah, and to that point, Indianapolis has the most number of hotel rooms within it's either a mile or 5 miles of the downtown area, like of any city in the country. So again, back to there's no hotel rooms. Yeah, there are. Just look at Booking.com. So then you've got Atlanta. Well, number one, it's Atlanta, and similar to Chicago, has a different problem, namely that people don't want to die of high velocity lead poisoning or get robbed, because every year DragonCon has stories about incidents. We'll say. I've heard a particularly amusing one from a HeroClix thing that was there, I believe. Two gentlemen were being robbed at gunpoint from the convention, and another guy happened by not knowing what was going on with some McDonald's hamburgers, and the thief wanted those as well. And that guy said, "The hell with it," and ran for it, got shot in the foot for his troubles, and lost his hamburgers, obviously. So, so yeah. Indianapolis, while parts of the city there are some crime issues, like the downtown area is generally not one of them. Well, apparently there was a car chase through there like a year ago. But one-offs, that happens. Well, my point is the downtown area is relatively crime-free, whereas Atlanta and Chicago have well-deserved reputations for not being. Now, in Chicago's defense, most of the crime isn't downtown; it's in certain other areas. But the problem is whenever you read every weekend 8 people been shot in Chicago, there's going to be people that are like, I ain't going there, not a chance in hell.
Well, there's a reason why I haven't been back to the Science Museum up in Chicago. I want to go.
Yeah, that's a shame. I would like to go see that.
Because they've got a German U-boat there that you can take a tour on.
Really?
Yes.
That sounds impressive.
Yeah, until you realize how
figure out how cramped it is. Like, this is a bad idea.
And you realize that there's only
one way in and out.
Well, there's only enough bedding for half the people that would have been on that. Because the idea is that half the crew.
Oh yeah, because the other half, yeah. Well, that makes sense. You're trying to conserve space. I never considered that.
And then pretty much when they'd come back into port, they would just burn all of the bedding because of the.
Yeah. Yeah, I never considered that. That makes it.
Sense. But to the point, there's reasons why I haven't been back, and those things should be taken into consideration. And again, like you said, Indianapolis isn't the safest place in the world either. I mean, it's a big city. You still run into those things, but the chance of you getting
the chances are significantly lower. But Atlanta also has another problem that someone posted I never knew about. Never would have considered. Okay, so DragonCon is in Atlanta. It's a sci-fi fantasy convention. If it were any other place, I'd like to go to it, but it's Atlanta, so I don't. Also, a little side note: I hear traffic is just horrendous in Atlanta, and that there's no solution forthcoming. But apparently, DragonCon, from the claim being made, this isn't a claim I'm making. I'm repeating it. Apparently, DragonCon, if there's another big convention of a similar type. That weekend, they will hold mandatory staff meetings for all their people. So those people can't go to the other convention and help them in any capacity whatsoever. So the local people that you would have work on conventions, DragonCon's yeah, no, we got a staff meeting. And if you don't show up, you're fired. So they do that to screw over other conventions intentionally, apparently, from what I've heard. So that's another thing to consider. Yeah. And then Philadelphia, like you said, expense. New York, expense, obviously. Plus the hotels are not the same. And, New York is a cyberpunk dystopia. So, and not even the good kind with the cool, tech stuff. It's just all the bad altogether. So, yeah. I don't know. I don't know if Boston's ever been shouted out. Our friend from Boston thinks that would work. Let me know down in the comments. But yeah, there's just this laundry list of things, and then it comes also with, if it goes to one of these other places, they would be oh, it's just another convention. In Indianapolis, no, it's GenCon. It's a big deal. local businesses roll out the red carpet. They do like special menus. They indulge in cosplay stuff. Like, you know, Gen Con, like Indianapolis is like, yes, we welcome you. Come. They put signs out on the interstate and out at the airport welcoming people in for Gen Con. Like that's how much of a big deal it is. So yeah, like these other cities, it just wouldn't work. Now, yes, I do agree that we're hitting capacity. Like,
But I think at the same time, like you said, Indianapolis is trying to do stuff to.
yes, Indianapolis is trying to grow, and a lot of it is specifically for Gen Con and the couple other big events that they have.
Well, that and they're trying to get more.
Yeah, I
Events.
mean, ultimately it'll help the city get more events, but like it's Gen Con has to renegotiate their contract every few years, and I know that they meet with the city people, and to tell them, hey, look, we need more room. The city's like, we're working on it, and they are. So yeah, like I said, one hotel already under construction. I think there's some others around downtown, but that one's like right next to the convention center. And I think there's even been talk of trying to expand the convention center again. So yeah,
Yeah.
I think they have to go up this time or down. But
Yeah, well, I think they're trying to be leading in that aspect. They want to be.
yeah, they want to be the convention city, and they're basically there. So yeah, so that's the only thing. Like I said, the first part was this is just blatantly false. This needs to be combated. That was the where this argument always leads. So I'll go ahead and cut that off too. But yeah, that's about it for that. So let us know down in the comments what your thoughts on any of this are. Uh, like, share, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Keep an eye out for other Gen Con videos because I'm probably actually going to have another one here real soon because there's a few things we've never really talked about for Gen Con because they don't apply to us. But I get emails about them, and obviously people are coming to us for information, so I'm going to spread it. There's a thing, Jim, did you know this? And I'm going to talk about this more in depth in the other video. They have a thing where they try to help people from what they refer to as traditionally marginalized or underrepresented groups, like get a badge and get there. It's not a ton of people, obviously, because they can't help everybody because resources are finite. We've been talking about that this whole video. But we never talk about it because, well, this is not underrepresented at Gen Con. Like, there's probably like 10 people that look exactly like me there. So, it is what it is. I'm not complaining about that. Like, probably good on Gen Con for trying to expand their audience, for trying to help people that couldn't normally get there, Not like what this guy says where, oh, they can't get a hotel, they can't get in, no, they're literally trying to combat that problem. So, good on them. So I'll do a video about that, that whole deal. And try to look into some of the other things that I don't normally deal with, but you guys might be interested in. So,
now, the next thing is going to be cots. They're just going to put cots along the double-decker bunk cots along the halls for people to sleep in. You know what though? That actually wouldn't be a bad idea if they had some way of isolating it, just a little bit, where people could, like they do on a train where you have a little curtain you can pull across and just have a row of that.
Well, if you stay at the what's the hotel? The one it's right next to the convention center. If you stay there, you can sleep in a train car. You know what I'm talking about, right?
No, but
oh God, if it comes to me here, I'll tell you, folks. But yeah, there is one there that has train cars. Like you can specifically request because there's a fixed train in the building, and the cars are split up into rooms. I've heard they're really small and cramped, and you're paying way too much for them. But I guess it's a novelty experience. So I don't know. I've had to go to events in that building though, and you're in the room, and all of a sudden you hear this hellacious noise because the tracks for the trains go above the room you're in.
Nice.
And you're sitting there, and you're just like, well, I hope that's all really well built. As opposed to last year, where you just had to listen to the trains if you were out eating anywhere.
This reminds me of the movie where, where there's the person's in in their room or whatever, and there's a train that goes right by and shakes everything in their room. Or the fact I think
it happened in the Blues Brothers.
Yeah, that's it. I couldn't think of what it was, but anyways, we're rambling on.
Yes, we've hit the rambling phase. So, like I said, check out our other YouTube video or other Gen Con stuff. We will have more as the event catalog comes out in May. We'll have a video about that. We're going to do our damnedest to make sure we get that before event registration opens up. But
and one thing is that if you ever have any questions, I mean, obviously you can contact us, but before you take something, even us, what we say at face value, go check the GenCon website. Look at that information, because I mean, again, everybody's going to make mistakes. Heck, we may make mistakes on some stuff we say. They're always going to be the most recognized resource, or the most whatever resource, the accurate resource. But we try to take that and look at it, interpret it for you, so that's a little bit easier to understand. Because sometimes I don't understand.
yeah, and also on that note, there is a forum on the GenCon website, and also I mentioned the Facebook group. Most of the people on there are helpful. Like, it's like everything else. You're gonna have a handful of people that aren't, but most of the people on there are helpful and they just want to help. So feel free to ask questions there if for whatever reason you don't want to ask us. So
all right,
yep. So yeah, folks. Hopefully see you at GenCon.
see you later.